Three drivers we've talked about drawn into this heat, and Dave Villwock tucks the Miss Budweiser over into lane one. Right beside him, the yellow boat, the York International with Mark Webber, and Todd Yarling is out in lane three in the Miss Madison. They are joined by Mike Hansen in a plain white boat coming by right there on the outside with good boat speed. That's the Jones Racing U9.
And you see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, that's the countdown to the start. They are all set, and let's see if we get a clean start. And it looks like we do. They are off, and you get a good vantage point from the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky. It's Miss Budweiser and York International deck to deck right now.
And you saw Mark Webber's boat running with the Budweiser as far as shoot speed was concerned, but Budweiser had the inside, and of course a boat that turns very, very well. From this point on, Dave Villwock should have this race under control, but Mark Webber, you saw him swing out of the picture. There he is. He's running with the Bud as far as straightaway speed, but all these corners, Rich, really, I think, add to the Budweiser advantage.
You are absolutely right, and of course, when you're in lane one, you have a shorter distance to travel. There's the York right behind the Budweiser in lane two and trying to close. Oh, there is Miss Madison, and Miss Madison is upside down as they tried to make the turn. Yarling is in the water.
Back in the Rooster Tails, Todd Yarling and the Miss Madison apparently got into one. There comes Mike Hansen in the white boat coming by. Now in our spot shadow, that's the bottom of Miss Madison up in the air. So he apparently got into Hansen's Rooster Tail, and the tremendous force back there just lifted the boat out of the water, turned it over. Here's Eric Steelau and the UHRA rescue crew arriving. They take the hatch off the bottom of the boat. Todd's legs, he's obviously conscious. That's good news. He's assisting a little bit in his own extrication. I'm sure he's very wet by now, Rich, but he'll be glad to be out of the boat. He's been hanging upside down in a 5-point harness, waiting to be rescued.
Luckily, he did not have to wait that long, the rescue crew getting out there very quickly. It is important to mention that they have an oxygen supply in their cockpit. Of course, the heat has to restart, so we have Miss Budweiser, Miss York International. It is Miss York International that has the inside lane now.
But the bad news for Mark Webber is that Budweiser out in lane two has the lead, which means Villwock once again is in control. He'll leave a lane in there for Mark, but not a big one.
There you see Mike Hansen and Jones Racing boat on the outside taking the wide turn, currently in third place in this heat, and it is Miss Budweiser on the outside, actually in lane two with the lead, followed by Miss York International, the yellow boat, driven by Mark Webber in lane one, but in second place.
And you can see the challenge that Mark has now at 190, 200 miles an hour. He has to stay in lane one because to his right, a Rooster Tail. Now, the Budweiser gets out far enough ahead that Mark can move out of that slot if he wants to.
Now we take a look at what Dave Villwock is seeing from his first place position in Heat 3A. We are on board with Dave Villwock and Miss Budweiser. From our vantage point of the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky angle, you can see it's clear sailing for Dave Villwock.
That shot really shows you how Villwock uses the skid fin and the rudder to turn the hydroplane. It's cocked a little bit in the turn, and now he straightens it out to head down that long straightaway and cranks it up from 150 to about 190 miles per hour on this race course.
The average speed for that lap actually 146, or just shy of 146 miles per hour. There you see Miss York International, Mark Webber, currently driving second. And Steve, this is why they call it hydroplane racing. The boats are bobbing up and down on the water. Rough weather conditions, rough water conditions as well as it gets later in the day, and these boats are riding on top of the water.
The worst thing that can happen to a hydroplane driver is to not have the power and the boat speed to get up on top of that chop, because it's really rough if you're not skimming across the top of these waves and rollers, as Villwock obviously doing, and Mark Webber getting a very good ride out there in the yellow boat, the York International.
Mike Hansen trailing far behind in third place right now. It is all Miss Budweiser looking for a third straight win on the day from Barrie, Ontario. Another look on board Miss Budweiser, and again, all he sees is clear skies in front of him. Dave Villwock is going to easily win Heat 3A and make it a third straight win, a trifecta, if you will, on the afternoon.
But if he bobbles in any way, should Miss Budweiser hit one of those holes, and there are some out there, he can scrape off 50 to 100 miles an hour immediately, and Mark Webber is right there where he should be, keeping the pressure on Villwock.
You're right, Stephen. Let's not take anything away from Mark Webber. A great Heat 3A for Webber and Miss York International, but there it is, too little too late, as Miss Budweiser crosses the finish line and wins Heat 3A, and Mike Hansen finishes a little farther behind in third place. Todd